Game 3 went to the Celtics. And, a lot of people were picking the Celtics. I know I had texted you and I was like, I'm going to pick the Warriors. I didn't feel great about the pick, but I was like, I feel like everyone's going with the Celtics. And usually when that happens, the other team kind of like either gets really close to winning it or does win it.
Yeah.
So I was just going on a whim. If in the third quarter, it looked like they might, but unfortunately in the fourth quarter, they completely died. So, what did you take from Game 3? I mean, what did it say to you?
Well, honestly, I felt like that the Celtics were going to defend home court. I felt like, especially the first game in the NBA Finals, they wanted to come out and make a statement. It was a pretty close game throughout the first half. Second half started. Obviously, the Warriors were down. They made a comeback. But the Celtics just, their defense, their rebounding, their size made a huge difference. For some reason, the Warriors' game plan that they used to beat the Celtics in Game 2, it didn't work. But like I had texted you, I think what would happen is the Celtics role players would, play really well at home because they play well on in front of the home crowd. And Marcus Smart did really well. Al Horford had a pretty quiet game, but he was really good, solid defensively. All the Celtics starters basically had at least 6+ rebounds, and that was a huge difference because Celtics out rebounded the Warriors. I think it was like 47-31. And like I said, man, like one of the scary things about the Celtics is they have a top 5 defense, but they can shoot like the Warriors, and they're really deep. And one of my concerns, and I texted you this, and you'll probably highlight this when you bring it up. But, Jordan Poole is so wishy-washy that sometimes he's really good. Game 2, he was great. Game 3, he wasn't as good, and really you didn't feel his presence. And he just has these performances where, you think he's going to do well, and then he disappears. And, it's unfortunate because they really could use that third scorer, especially with Wiggins using all of his energy on the defensive side to contain Tatum or Brown, whoever he is assigned to. So, my big takeaways are, Celtics defended home court. I do think the Warriors will probably bounce back in Game 4, but I'm still rocking with Celtics in 7, unfortunately, for the reasons I've outlined. But, this does hurt me because I am a Steph fan and I do want him to win these finals for legacy reasons. But, they have a tough up here battle, and, they got to make sure they don't go down 3-1 to the Celtics because they won't win down 3-1. That's for sure.
I'll start off by saying this. Was it a bad loss for the Warriors? I think it was. I think they had every opportunity to win the game. I think they could have won the game, but the fourth quarter, Wiggins, I saw a couple of threes that he took in the fourth quarter wide open. Absolutely wide open, completely whiffed on him.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson, obviously, we've talked about, he hasn't been consistent, even though he did have 25 points, so not awful, and he was getting to the free throw line. But I think that's where the Warriors are starting to kind of see their lack. Well, first, I think the Warriors, I'm looking at the minutes on the bench. It's not great. Jordan Poole and Otto Porter kind of highlight the bench, and the rest of the bench is 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then you got Gary Payton, who's got 11 minutes. So which not huge minutes there. And Kevon Looney, he only played 17 minutes, and they played Jordan Poole and Porter Jr. a little bit more. And like you said, Poole has not been consistent. He hasn't been great. He's been great when the game is not on the line or they need a big bucket. He's just been kind of, playing his own game. So that's where he's going to have to grow next year. But I feel like Jordan Poole is a guy who you can still play. I feel like a lot of people are kind of like beating him down, but I feel like he is a guy who potentially could score a lot of points. I think you're going to have to still play him a little bit more. And I know the Warriors are probably scared of doing that, but at the same time, I think you get him some good experience, whether it goes great for you this year or possibly it'll be good for you next year. So I'm just not really happy with the bench the way it's been happening. And Steph Curry has been the only one who can hit a shot, it seems like. Wiggins needs to come up big, a lot bigger. Draymond Green, he even admitted on his podcast that it was probably one of the worst games he had in his entire career. So he doesn't expect him to do that. Jason Tatum had a pretty good game. I would say had a good fourth quarter. I wouldn't say game necessarily, and that's my worry with the Celtics is I feel like they've been able to kind of coast without Jason Tatum, but I do feel like as the games continue, they're gonna need Jason Tatum more. Now, maybe he'll be better because he kind of had rest in air quotes, but or I guess not used as much. But I do think he is going to have to step up a little bit more. I mean, but I got to say right now, I know Jaylen Brown has had a great series so far. He's been really good.
Yeah.
And I think he could potentially, if the Celtics end up winning this NBA Finals, I think he could potentially actually win NBA Finals MVP.
Yeah.
But I do think someone who should be talked about in MVP talks would be Robert Williams. He's been an absolute disruptor the Warriors are almost scared to go inside every time he's on defense.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a couple of huge blocks. I mean, we talked about the block that Jaylen Brown had on Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
And that was just like a game sealer type block. I mean, it was, I'm not saying it wasn't big, it was huge, but I just feel like Williams, everyone, like the Warriors are really scared to even try and attempt a shot that's around him. Which I think really bodes well for the Celtics. Now, the Warriors have these veteran guys that won't be scared to step up and still try and go inside. So I think they will. But these young guys like a Jordan Poole, as we've been talking about, or Andrew Wiggins, even I think is going to be a little bit tougher for them to go inside and still be confident in it. So that's a little worrisome for me, but in the end, I'm still going to stick with the Warriors. I think I still pick them in 7. A 2-1. Yes, you don't want to be down, but at the same time, it was the first home game in Boston in this series, so not something that was awful like to go. I mean, it wasn't something that the Warriors couldn't overcome, but I do feel like we knew going into this game that Boston, the Garden was going to be absolutely rocking. And I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast. He was talking about how half of Boston was drunk before they even came into the arena. So it was already going to be rowdy. So I mean, we knew that going in. So I'm not super surprised that they lost. The way that they lost was a little, it wasn't great. But, the Curry getting injured was a little scary for me. And that is something I'm definitely going to be watching. If you see him miss a few more shots than you're normally used to seeing, I think it's actually going to tell you that it is affecting him. And if that is the case, the series is over. It's going to be the Celtics. I will have no trouble admitting that.